Welcome back to State of the Art, only on VYCR.
Such highs and lows. Put on quite a show.
Yeah,
I really like that. That's just such a good cut in.
I know. If you so if people listening and you like some of the liners that are going through,
You can't have them.
they are all available on iTunes and stuff. All you gotta look up is Gautier. You probably know him for his one-hit wonder, somebody that I used to know. But that whole album, Making Mirrors, is a really good one, and
Yup.
all
I've
three
been
songs.
listening to it actually, like you said to. I actually really like it.
Yeah,
It's pretty dope.
all three songs in our liners are from the album, so go check them out. But to move on, you spoke about Lincoln, and
I did.
you were talking about how that was an underrated movie. Now, an underrated movie for me
Yeah.
personally has to be Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
And like overall, as a series, Tron has gotten like shoved to the corner, like
Yeah.
by a lot of people, other than like people who are like
Really,
big nerds or
really
geeks.
into it,
Like the first movie was so. If you look at it, it doesn't even stand to like today's standards. It's
No.
like really bad.
Back then, it's like it was on par with, I think, Back to the Future as well. No.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was on it. Special effects wise, yes, it's around that.
Right.
But one thing that I liked about Tron Legacy is it brought it like it gave it a new vision,
Mhm.
and especially giving a new revamp to like appeal to a different audience. And I think they did that perfectly, especially with the music. They picked the perfect producers, Daft Punk, to produce all the music.
In that movie, yeah, it gives you, because the world itself is, you get that total vibe of this electro punk rock kind of feel, and it just flows so nicely.
Oh yeah, like that whole album. Like I don't listen to music without lyrics because I find it kind of like boring at parts. I
Mhm.
listen to that whole album, and it's just or just the whole score of the movie. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's like you're going into a different world. It really feels like you're transported into the grid.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that a lot of people overlook, because a lot of people, when they go see the movie, they go there for the story and
Mhm.
like see how that all connects. Because if a story isn't good, then obviously the movie's not going to be good. But that's not a part of every movie, I don't think. I think a movie could just be fun. Like look at what just came along that kind of reminds me of Tron. Like see Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ready Player One. Like you have every different genre of movies always has its case of like, the story doesn't have to be the main focal point. Ready Player One is a nerd's like dream.
Paradise.
Yeah, nerds. It is. I think like Easter eggs the movie, and it's fine. It's fine because it's a fun movie to watch. If you go into Ready Player One being super concerned with the story, that's like going into whatchamacallit, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, being super
Yeah.
concerned with the story.
No, that's well. Talking about, I don't want to go off topic.
Well,
but
no,
to
yeah,
talk about Scott Pilgrim versus the World, that may be used for like another
Yeah, there's
segment,
day.
another day. But going back to Tron Legacy, one thing, yes, the story is very lacking,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing that brings it all together is you have likable characters such as Jeff Bridges playing Sam Flynn
Mm-hmm.
and being like this. Wait, is his name Sam?
Yeah, no, you had it right. Sam Flynn. Because his father's name is
No, Jeff Bridges. I'm trying to think of.
Oh, what is
What's his name?
in the movie?
Yeah.
No, yeah, you had it right. Sam Flynn.
Then what's the son's name?
Wait, let me see.
I thought the son's name was Sam. Now I'm
Oh,
confused.
I thought you were talking about the son.
No.
Wait, hold on. This is why we have the internet, folks.
Yes.
All right.
But as you're
I'm gonna
finding
look
that,
it up.
anyway, and then you have Olivia Wilde playing Cora, which is this thing called an ISO, which are basically indigenous species to the grid, and like she's the only last one, and like she's like basically the whole key to the whole movie, and you find that out near like the end of the movie.
Oh, I found it. It's Kevin. It's Kevin Flynn.
Kevin Flynn.
And
Anyway.
Sam Flynn is played by Garrett Hedlund.
Yes. So if you look at the main three characters, and even like the funniest thing, actually one thing that definitely brings down the quality of the movie, because if you look at all the special effects, you look at the world that they created with this beautiful CGI, you think they would have used that great CGI to make young Jeff Bridges look better.
Right. But it's kind of weird because watching that film, I always got the sense that him and his dad, like his dad has a beard and everything, so it's very distinct that one's the father, one's the son. But I can't see him being as young as they say he is throughout that movie.
What do you mean?
Because, well, okay, hold on.
How old is he supposed to be in the film?
If I remember correctly, he's supposed to be like his dad's been trapped in there for 20 years. So he had him when he was this is why we have the internet, folks.
I don't want any dead air. So I'm gonna keep on talking once you find
Yeah,
that.
I'll find my.
So talking about character structure, just all of the characters are so likable. Like even Sam Flynn, yes, he's mischievous. Yes, he wants to take down this evil corporation, let's take over his family's company that his dad brought from the built from the ground up.
Right.
And seeing him being so playful, and then seeing a more serious side to Kevin Flynn, like rather than him just being so ignorant and creating this evil copy of himself.
Right.
And going to this more, I don't know what the word is, but like insightful. Like you could definitely see he has complete control of the grid when he went to that club. He's just like everybody's like just bowing down to him because they know how much power he actually has.
Right, as one of the top people in the grid. I really, you know what movie it kind of reminds me of as well is I know this one wasn't that big this year. It was Cyberpunk 2048.
Wait, are you talking about your Blade Runner?
I mean, Cyberpunk. That's a game. This come out. No. Look at all these names that blend. But anyways, Blade Runner 2048. Or was it Blade Runner 2049? That was the one.
It's one of them. I
Yeah,
don't know.
the new one was Blade Runner 2049. It actually kind of reminds me of that movie a lot, just because of the aesthetic and the kind of
definitely with all like the neon and
yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah,
and the atmosphere of the world. Especially, you remember that part where they're going into the club and they ride in the old Tron bike with the white one. That I saw that, and I every time I think about that scene, I end up thinking about one of the scenes in the new movie in Blade Runner, where he goes to the old desert or the old abandoned city, and he finds not who's the guy, Indiana Jones,
Harrison Ford,
the old ass.
so what's it called? Ryan Gosling finds. Okay,
yeah, and I just think that those movies kind of aesthetic is always so fascinating to watch because it's not even like a dystopian future, not even full on.
Well, if you think about it, because don't they have like less freedom?
Yeah, they do, but the world hasn't. There hasn't been I think for most of the movies, it's like global warming and natural events took place. Tron is the grid is a completely different world.
Basically, the Tron is basically what everybody wants, like not the Oasis, because that's what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say like there's a word for it where it's like this beautiful world where nothing goes wrong.
Oh, a utopia.
Utopia. Basically, the grid was Kevin's utopia, and that's what he wanted to be. But because of people and like obviously their free will to do whatever they want, they get too much power. They're gonna obviously ruin that whole thing. That's why a utopia is never probably going to happen,
because humans innate sense of like greed and power, and they're drawn to it. But I understand what you mean. I really like the movie. It's the aesthetic, like the whole bike race.
Yeah.
The Tron. Oh my gosh.
It reminds you of the game, because the thing about Tron is it's a game. Yeah. And like the whole thing with the Tron bikes and seeing that in action, especially coming for, I think it was 2011 or 2010.
2010.
For CGI, like back then, that was like super cool.
It looks beautiful. Like, if there's one thing that they were trying to do, I don't know if they were trying to sell toys, but they definitely sold toys, because those Tron bikes look like the coolest thing. I wanted one. Yeah. The design of them, it's like the big wheels and the neon light. It's the coolest looking thing, and the trails look great.
And then even talking about, we didn't even bring up what's it called? The disc fights.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like they're so
choreography is fantastic.
Beautifully choreographed. Like, you felt like you didn't know what was going to happen, like every single thing, because it's just bouncing off of walls.
Right.
There's people doing like backflips and stuff.
Yeah, and it's great. I think, you know what, in terms of we talked about this, I think a little while ago with remakes.
Yes.
The movie itself is supposed to be a semi-sequel / remake of the Tron,
the original
world.
Tron.
Right.
Yes.
And most movies don't do a good job of keeping faithful with original source material. I think Tron Legacy does a pretty good job of keeping faithful with the legend of the original source material and then expanding upon it
Exactly.
and making you feel like this is a continuation to the original Tron. A lot of remakes fail to, or even sequels fail to do that in some aspects, and it makes a lot of movie series feel like you always think, oh yeah, this second movie wasn't very good, but the third movie, that's where they really pick the pace back up.
Yeah.
Tron Legacy is a fine movie in my book in terms of keeping with the source material, being a good sequel. The characters are the characterization in that movie, everything's pretty gloomy, and it's a lot of because the world itself is
Yeah.
covered in darkness all the time. It's basically nighttime all the time.
Well, yeah. Well, the main reason for that is because,
It's like you're inside a computer.
well, not just only
Well,
that.
not
It's
only
also
that,
trying to show how like there's no
utopia.
utopia anymore. Like Clue has just ruined it all,
and the world itself has turned into this dark place.
where people find joy in like the death of programs.
Gladiator style.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic movie. I loved watching it. The first time I saw it, I never really did watch it again properly all the way through, but it's memorable. I remember it.
Definitely
It
memorable.
was 2010 that movie came. It's been 7 years, and I still remember that movie fondly because the bikes, the choreographed fights are beautiful. The soundtrack is great. The world, the atmosphere, you remember that. It's memorable. And a movie should make you remember it's just not just because of like the characters, not just because of the movie's name itself, but because of the movie itself, like the world.
The world that it built.
Yep. And it does a great job at that. I think, but I can understand. Like, I think what was one of people's main problems with that film?
It was a story.
It was a story?
They just found it to be lackluster, and I kind of agree with that. But it's that doesn't stop it from being an
A good
enjoyable
film,
movie.
right? Yeah, you can't let the story be the solo defining factor of something. And I think that this pick and our next pick
Next
as
pick,
well.
which we will be talking about next. But continue your point.
So this pick and our next pick are the antithesis of that. No, not the antithesis. The what's the word I'm looking for? No, but they're the peak of that. They exemplified those qualities. The stories of them, they're not fantastic. They don't, especially considering Tron Legacy is a sequel to a movie that was very popular back in the 80s.
Yep.
And it doesn't do a great job at following up with it, but it does a good enough job that if you like Tron, unless you're really into Tron,
Yeah.
Tron Legacy would be a good movie for you. And I think that it was perfect material to sell. It was made by Disney, actually.
Yeah. Which was surprising.
Yeah, it was perfect material to make for video games and toys, and maybe that's what they were aiming for. But I think as a movie, it was pretty good.
Yeah. So we will be back, and we'll be talking about our last pick and our ending notes.
All right.
We'll see you
Stay
then.
tuned.